I never was a fan of the character of Shazam. I watched him a couple of times in the animated DC universe, and I enjoyed him from time to time. I could never really like him. I know there's a whole history of him being originally Captain Marvel and all that stuff, but it just
I'm here to
never
tell you
worked
right
for
now.
me. So when the first Shazam came out, I didn't go to theater. I wasn't interested in it. I was just like, all right. I didn't understand why they were bringing this character into live action, but I trusted the process and hoped that it would be well handled, and hopefully they would include Zack Snyder so it could be in the Snyderverse. Now I know that Snyderverse is a little bit divisive, and I just wanted something cohesive. Say what you want about Marvel, at least it's all in brand, following a story for the most part. This new phase, some people like it, some people hate it. Hey, we all have different taste. Same thing with this. When the first Shazam movie, I watched it when it was streaming on HBO, and I thought it was good enough. It wasn't horrible. I enjoyed the character, but it didn't feel on brand with the Snyderverse. And that was my first inclination of that this was something different. I don't remember if this was received well. If I remember correctly, it divided the fan base, as everything that has to do with DC, right? So I was surprised when they mentioned or revealed that they would have a Shazam 2, and they had all these plans. And as if you saw the movie, and spoiler, even though this movie's been out for a while, they tried to attach it to the Snyderverse, with Wonder Woman showing up and the Batman references, the Aquamans and stuff like that. And I do believe they had a bigger picture. At some point, they wanted him to fight, which would have been a better second movie. But with The Rock and everybody else, it didn't pan out. But this movie should have been Shazam versus Black Adam, or at least had Black Adam appear at the end instead of the crappy end scene we had. And then we should have had Black Adam as a more cohesive story. The problem with the DC or the old regime is, like the phrase says, too many chefs in the kitchen, or too many chiefs, not that many Indians. So many different ideas, so many different executives putting their 2 cents in, people being fired, producers and directors not coming back, just a bit of a mess. So maybe it is the best thing for James Gunn to come in and just revamp the whole thing, even though it seems with the end credit for Shazam that he is going to be included into the Gunverse. Though I have my suspicions that it will not, though, because I think it bombed at theaters, and I just think everything coming out from DC, from the old DCEU, is just not being received well. We'll see what Blue Beetle comes out, and then Aquaman comes out at the end of this year. If it continues on that, I think the DC fan base is really just tired. I don't know what everybody wants, honestly, and I'm not here to tell you what to want. But as far as Shazam 2, I thought it was really forced. Everything about the movie felt forced. The acting felt forced. The story felt forced. The cameos felt forced. That's all. Like the whole thing. It just, that guy that tries too hard. This is that movie. This movie is that guy that just tries too hard to fit in. And it just seems that Zachary Levi was the only one really into this project. Everyone else was just kind of going through the motions. I don't know if they believed in this movie. The puns all over, like the Khaleesi and the family, given the fact that we had an actress that starred in the Fast and Furious series, it just takes you out of the movie because it's an actors that played in it, and every time they drop these lines, it takes you out of the movie. Even when at sometimes you feel like it's gaining its stride, you're like, all right, you know, it's starting to flow a little bit, but then they drop this weird comedy throughout the movie, and it takes you out, and it just felt uninspired, and I said, like I said, it just forced. It was a well enough movie, and like I've said a thousand times in my reviews, I don't like to criticize too harshly movies because like everything art is subjective, and just because I found this movie a little forced, a little bit too try hard, I'm sure there was people out there that really enjoyed a lighter aspect to the dark DCEU that Snyder kind of set in motion. It's really sad for me to see that vision not accomplished. I thought that they were finally gaining a little bit of steam and kind of a cohesive mark, but at the end of the day, I just think a lot of people lost faith in that vision, and we'll see where it goes from here. So I'm not trying to be too harsh on this movie, and the cast did a great job in doing what they could do, but it seems like a lot of them phoned it in. Even the villains phoned a little bit, you know, scene 4 just phoned it in, and even in the dramatic aspects of the movie, it just felt a little off. But for me, this movie gets a C+ rating. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and like always, that's a wrap.